Hi, I'm Frankie.
And I'm Cheyenne.
And we are
Conbini Cults.
So we recorded this episode about driving on another day, and the first couple minutes are out of focus. So we just want to pop on here and say hello again. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening, it's not going to affect the
audio
at all. But if you're watching on YouTube or something, and then you open up the video and then it starts out of focus, it's really unsettling. So
sorry.
Hello, we're
it's
here.
Us again, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit less than 2 minutes, so I'll put a timestamp. Driving.
All right. Enjoy the episode.
We are back, trying to get back in the hang of recording.
Yes.
There is a baby with us.
There's a baby if you are a watcher of the pod. I just want to say
She's
thank
sleeping.
you. Yeah. But thank you so much to Frankie. I mean, we recorded this space basically for all day, hoping to get, you know, as many episodes in as we can. It has been...
see what would happen.
Yeah, it's been quite an adjustment, taking your kid to work kind of vibes today. But I think it's going as well as I imagined it to be. I mean, it's a baby, sorry, but we're working around the crying and the feeding, and so I appreciate you. Thank you. It's been a journey, but we're good now. We're restarting the episode. We're good now. Okay.
So recently I've been hearing a lot of news about how it's going to become much harder for foreigners to get their license in Japan because of some accidents and stuff that have been happening with foreign drivers.
Okay.
So a lot of the information I was seeing was kind of confusing. So I wanted to get to the bottom of it. Like, why? And how are the rules actually going to change?
Okay.
What's going to happen? And then we'll talk a little bit about our own experiences getting our license here.
Don't take
that
me
memory
down
lane.
that traumatic memory lane.
Yeah, we have some driving stories from other people as well. So yeah, not just us. And then I also want to talk about the increase of accidents with elderly drivers.
Yeah, because it's not just foreigners. Yeah.
That's a growing problem too with the aging population. So buckle up.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a car.
Yeah,
buckle up. What are you doing?
Yeah. And before we get into that, let me just move this bottle out of the frame. Oh shit, sorry. There we go. Is that better? All right. Are you buckled up? Yes.
All right. I got new rules, I count them.
I was thinking,
what's happening?
I saw that in the notes and I was like just reading it in a normal voice and I was like, this must be a reference to something. I've heard it before, but when you read it regularly, I've got new rules, I count them. I was like, is this a typo?
There's new rules.
I guess
there's new rules.
That's true. All right.
So yeah, let's start with the why. So what is with this increase of traffic accidents with foreigners? So I found this article titled "Traffic Accidents Involving Foreign Drivers Rise by 30% over 5 years."
Yikes.
I kind of just took some of the main points of that so we can kind of popcorn that a little bit.
Okay. Any comments? Okay, well, traffic accidents involving foreign drivers in Japan surged by 30% over the past 5 years and reached 7,286 in 2024, according to National Police Agency data.
The incidents last year included 54 fatal accidents and 486 resulting in serious injuries, the National Police Agency said. The increase came as the number of foreign residents holding Japanese driver's licenses hit a record high of 1.25 million by the end of last year. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. She thinks so too. While 90% of foreign drivers involved in accidents last year held valid Japanese licenses, 3.6% were driving without a license or with invalid credentials, while 3.1% were using international driving permits.
By nationality, Chinese drivers topped the list with 1,697 accidents, followed by Koreans with 1,227 and Brazilians with 1,065.
I'm kind of surprised Americans aren't higher on that list, only because of the opposite side of the road driving kind of thing, but...
That is true. But those three nationalities, I think those are the biggest foreign populations here.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, numbers-wise.
More people from those countries live here, so...
I see.
Zainichi, right?
Oh, and they're just not allowed to be...
Yeah, they're not
Japanese
allowed to be
residents.
Japanese citizens.
You're so right.
So I feel like that also plays into this too. So even if they've been here for more than one generation,
they're just
they're
still counted as
Japanese.
foreigners.
Yeah.
That sucks. Okay, I see.
Just
I think.
food for thought.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find what are some of these accidents. There was only one that I could find.
Yeah,
quickly.
The one this year, right?
Yeah, it was very recently.
Yeah, very recent. I think I saw it on the news too, if we're thinking about the same one.
Yeah, so May 2025, we'll show the video in a second, but a car drove 10 kilometers the wrong way on a Japanese expressway, causing multiple crashes and injuring 4 people. This was in Mie, by the way, I think. Police arrested a 34-year-old Peruvian man the next day for fleeing the scene.
Yeah.
So let me show you this video real quick.
Yeah, I've seen some of it on the news. It's kind of crazy because it's on you said expressway, so it's not like they could have gone anywhere else.
It's
you know,
yeah. They're pretty separate, the highway entrances. So
I guess that's true.
And they seem to just
keep going. Yeah, wouldn't you just stop at that point?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, they're driving way faster than I thought. I wonder if they were just panicking. Okay, so in the video we just watched, they're driving pretty fast in the opposite direction too. You know, I thought they were trying to, I don't know, get into, you know, some kind of area where they could at least stop, but there was one scene they were zooming down, and I wonder if they were just panic driving, trying to just get out of that situation as quickly as possible, just looking for an exit and just trying to drive as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That is pretty bad though.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I couldn't really find any other notable examples besides that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the listeners, if you guys know of any other things, please feel free to share. I'm not denying this claim, obviously, because there are statistics, but I would like to see some more stories. I'm curious.
I'm gonna just out myself a little bit while we're on this topic. No accidents were caused, but I have definitely accidentally driven on the wrong side of the road before in Japan. Don't arrest me. It also wasn't on a highway or an expressway. It was a very quick, I'm going to turn down this road. Whoops, nope. And then I could just quickly make a U-turn out of it. That's all I'll say about that. But I'm just going to say it happens. Yeah, and it's never on purpose. They didn't say that was on purpose, right? It wasn't.
I don't think it was on purpose.
It was like a full-on accident.
Yeah, they must have panicked or something, but it went on for a while.
I think it was a panic driving, try to get out of the expressway or something. Okay.
Yeah, some common complaints that I've seen. Yeah, people driving on the wrong side of the road. And also people using hotels and Airbnbs for their address.
Oh.
When they're either getting their license or renting a car.
Well,
so that makes it harder to track them down later if something happens.
I see. Yeah. Well, what else are they supposed to use? Especially if you're renting a car, you're obviously visiting Japan. What other address could you use?
Yeah, so that is also part of the problem. So once I looked into what these revisions actually are going to be, everything started to make more sense because I guess I wasn't fully aware of the rules anyway. Like I converted my American driver's license, but you didn't? You had to go to driving school?
I didn't go to driving school, but I did have to take the exam and everything. So when you say converted your license, do you mean just change it that day? No, you have to take the exam?
I still had to take the practical exam on the course.
I see.
But I didn't have to go to driving school, is what I mean.
Oh, no, I didn't do that either.
So, okay. Once I explain this stuff to you, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense to everybody,
Okay, let's do that.
The same revelation I had.
Yeah.
So, from October 1st of this year, 2025, under the revised system, foreign tourists and other short-stay visitors will not be allowed to convert the license they hold.
Oh.
So, I didn't even know that tourists could convert their license that way. Did you know that?
No.
I thought you had to be a resident.
Yeah. What is the reason? Like, why would they need to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of makes sense that they would make it so that... Yeah.
I didn't know that was even a thing. Okay. Interesting.
So I was also wondering, why would a tourist even want
to?
A Japanese driver's license?
I wonder if tourists know they can. Maybe a lot don't, and so they're not doing that anyway, and that's why the rule has just stuck around for so long.
Well, let me tell you something.
Okay.
So, yeah, depending where the person is from, their country might not be a part of the Geneva Convention on Road Traffic, which is basically an international treaty which allows people from participating countries to get an international driving permit.
I see.
So if their country doesn't have that, and Japan does, that makes the Japanese license more appealing.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good to know.
Under the revised rules, a certificate of residence must be submitted when applying for a license conversion.
Ooh.
Which I feel like that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense, yeah, to me as well.
Yeah.
No complaints, no comments on that.
Yeah. So before, even tourists or short-term residents could convert their license and might have been using a hotel address. So I see why that's a problem.
All right. Yeah. Makes sense now.
And then I was also wondering how does that affect foreign residents too? So after the revision, the test, which was 10 questions before, will now include 50 questions.
Oh no.
And applicants need a score of at least 90% to pass. The driving test, the one on the course, will also toughen checks on whether drivers know the rules for pedestrian crosswalks and railway crossings.
Okay, so even though, you know, my experience taking the test, it was like, I say traumatic, it wasn't even that bad, you know? But now, looking at these new rules, I'm so happy I got my license here when I did. Because from 10 questions, which Frankie will talk about and I'll add to in a little bit, like what kind of questions are on the test, because they're very tricky, in like a nonsensical way. But going from 10 to 50 is stressful.
Yeah. And you need 90%.
Yeah, I know the test for Japanese people, isn't it 100 questions? It's a lot to begin with. It could be, I mean, I want to say minimum 50.
Comments.
Yeah. But
a ping comment
I thought it was 50, maybe 100. And same, you need at least 90% or maybe even 100% to pass it. What? I don't know, something like that. You need a pretty big score. Yeah.
Well, so next I wanted to talk about, us converting our licenses here. So, it depends what country you're from, because not all countries are eligible. It depends what country you're from, because not all countries are eligible for this conversion. And then if you're from the US, like us, it also depends on the state.
Yep.
Because for some states, you might be very lucky and you don't need to take that practical exam on the course. You could just do the paperwork and the true or false test.
And the states are very random too.
Yeah.
I want to know
Indiana.
Why? Ohio, I want to say, Washington State, Virginia.
We'll link
it because this is just based off of my memory from 8 years ago. And Hawaii also got added to this list.
After
I did it. And so I have a lot to say about that, which we'll get into. Yeah.
Okay.
Ugh.
So if you're lucky, all you have to do is that paperwork and the little quiz. But for me, I have a New Jersey driver's license, so I needed to do the paperwork and all that, and then also take the course one. Didn't have to go to driving school because that's expensive. We will briefly talk about that later. But I mean, overall, it was very convenient. So let's talk about the actual process.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you say paperwork, what do you mean?
Yes. So one of the first things that I had to do was go to, what is it called? JAF?
Japan Automobile Federation? Question mark, maybe?
JAF.
Yeah.
So you got to go to one of those and get a translation of your U.S. driver's license. Or in some cases, you might need like a driving history report or something. They also will check your passport to see that you've driven in your home country for at least 90 days.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of recent that they did this because sometimes to avoid the cost of driving school, I think some people would just get their license back home, never practice driving. And then convert their license here.
I see. I can see that.
So now they check that you've driven in your home country for 90 days.
Well, what year was this? When did you do all of this driving stuff?
2020.
Okay. I did it in, I guess it wasn't too far earlier than you, 2018.
18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but mine was also after COVID, so I don't know.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay. I can explain the pre-COVID experience then,
I don't know if that makes a difference.
But same, I also had to... They either checked... I don't remember them checking my passport, but they checked my Hawaii driver's license and just saw my date of issue. And it had to be at least 3 months that I was driving back home. Yeah. So same.
They also did kind of a mini interview and they were asking me about driving school back home. What was the process of getting my license back home?
Interesting.
So maybe it depends on the person you talk to, but the dude that I got asked a lot of questions.
And this was at the Osaka driving center? Or what do you call it? Menkyo Center or something?
Yeah, I think it's called Menkyo Center.
Yeah, the license center.
I'm going to call it the driving center.
Yeah, the DMV of Japan. Yeah, I see. When you went, okay, so my experience is pre-COVID, so 2018 in Chiba. And Frankie's is post-COVID
in Osaka.
So we're going to maybe have some differences here and there.
Yeah.
For me, because Osaka is a huge city. And so I didn't realize places like the DMV or, for example, immigration, when you're in a big city, obviously those facilities are going to be a lot bigger. Did you have to wait a long time to go through that process? Or was it pretty, I don't know, flex time? You could go at any time during the operating hours?
Yeah.
Okay. So in Chiba.
It was busy, but it was very efficient. I don't think I had to make an appointment for the paperwork stuff.
I see.
But I had to make an appointment for the test.
Right.
And wait a couple weeks, I think, for that.
I see. Okay. So in Chiba, maybe it's different now. Again, this was almost 7 years ago. But it's only in Makuhari. So this is a city, an area in Chiba Prefecture. The Makuhari DMV, you go and there is a counter specifically for foreigners. And so you go in there and they look at you and depending, they're just like, go to the foreigner counter. And then that counter or that reception is only open from something crazy, like 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. I don't know. There's 2 open slots. And from what I recall, it was, for example, from 8 a.m. or from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So 1 hour. And then the afternoon slot from 12 to 1, something like that. So you had to really get there early and just make sure you were in line during those operating hours. And if the time just surpassed that hour or whatever, you just couldn't do anything that day.
Even if you were in line before?
Something like that. They really capped it. And again, this was at the time, but it was just really hard to, it wasn't something you could just decide to do the day before or that day. You really had to plan it at that time. And it just felt very, secluded. It was very clear foreigners were only allowed in this one section. And then they really separated you from the rest of the Japanese people at the DMV. Yeah.
Okay. From what I remember from the Osaka one, there was a specific window for license conversions. So, of course, it's going to be foreigners in that line. Unless a Japanese person got their license abroad and they want to convert it, but mostly for foreigners. But then after that, it was like all the other lines were the same with everybody else, if I recall correctly. There was also an eye exam.
Yeah.
I forget at which point I did it, but it was a very simple thing. Just
I think you
which
take
way is
it
the arrow pointing?
Yeah.
Up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
What color's the light?
And this kind of should be common sense, but of course, if you're looking to convert your license in Japan or you expect to take both, the paper exam or the practical exam, you do need a certain level of Japanese. Nothing advanced or anything. We're not saying you need N1 to drive in Japan, but it does help to know your basic up, down, left, right, and some numbers, at least on the driving course. My driving course had numbers. True. But yeah, just, I don't know, heads up, I thought I would mention that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also skipped over the quiz, the true-false quiz.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that, because maybe it's the same across the country. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was true or false. But they did have an English translation of it, but it was a lot of double negatives.
The translation is awful. I don't know if we both had the same test, but if they're similar, the translation is so bad to where, in my case, it had the English at the top and the Japanese at the bottom. And it was true, false. And not to be like, I speak Japanese, so I knew. But in that case, it was almost easier to just read the Japanese versus rely on the English translation because of those double negatives and, confusing points you just mentioned. But yeah.
Some of the questions were kind of obvious. For example, you took medication that
makes you sleepy or makes you drowsy.
Medication that'll make you drowsy. So
can you drive?
Feel fine. It's totally fine to drive.
Yeah.
Right. True or false?
And there's some. I mean, this isn't tricky because Japan has a zero, tolerance policy for alcohol and stuff. Yes. But as an American, you're allowed like 0.08 blood alcohol content or something.
Yeah, there's some limit. But in Japan, no.
Right. So if you didn't study Japanese, road rules at all, I'm sure Americans get this one wrong a lot, but it said something along the lines of, you went to a party and had only one beer. Are you safe to drive home or something like that? And so tricky in that sense if you don't, study at all. But yeah.
And then if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it make a sound?
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, but I'm so curious what this 50 question test
I
is
don't even want to
be.
know. I feel so bad for everyone who's coming after this is put into place.
If you can go before October 1st, save yourself.
Yeah, but honestly, it sounds like we're trying to encourage you taking the easy way out and whatever. It's probably for the best. It's good to know the rules of the road, obviously, and study and know, how to properly drive in Japan. I'm just, I don't want to say lazy, but I'm kind of glad I just don't have to do that anymore. But that's because I don't like stressful things. But good luck if you are taking that test after October.
Yeah. Oh, also, side note, I don't know if we talked about this in the episode that we had to stop recording or if it was in this current one.
Sorry.
It's okay. But did I ask you when's the last time you drove?
Yeah, when did you ask me?
I don't remember if it was...
I can't even remember if we were recording or, if we were just taking a break. But anyway, I'll answer anyway. Yeah. The last time I drove was 2022, so 3 years ago. Okay. Right before I moved to Osaka.
Okay.
And now I'm having a weird sense of deja vu. Did we not just talk about this in the intro?
I can't remember. If we did, I'll cut this out.
Okay.
But...
Yeah, so I haven't driven for 3 years, but because kind of I haven't driven for that long, it technically means I haven't gotten into any accidents or committed any traffic violations. So I have the gold license, but we call it a paper driver in Japan because I have this.
You look good on paper.
Yeah, I look good on paper, but I don't actually put it to use. Yeah. I don't want to drive in Osaka. It's scary. At least in Osaka City.
I think it's one of the most stressful places to drive in the city.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, so I just prefer not to drive, and I don't have a car. You don't need a car if you live in Osaka City, in my opinion, anyway. Oh, yeah. So 3 years for me. How about you? You drive a lot.
Yeah, I drive pretty regularly. I don't currently have my own car. My husband has a car, but I also have a membership to Times Car Share. Oh, so if I ever need to just rent one real quick, run some errands.
I love that
it's
about
super convenient.
Here. You can just rent it, and every time I go to, I don't know, Costco or I just want to go far distances, we'll do that too. I had my own car in Chiba, so when I first came on as an English teacher, I lived in the inaka countryside to where you needed a car, truly, to do anything. You just couldn't live life without one. Yeah. So I bought the car that my predecessor was using for cheap because it's an old used car. And yeah, that was my car from 2017 to 2020. So 3 years. It was fun. Okay. I loved having my own car in the inaka. I don't care to have one now.
Yeah. If I move more out towards the countryside, I would probably get a used car.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, side tangent. So back to the driving test. So also, if you are in a country like Germany or Canada where you don't have to do this practical exam and you just do the paperwork stuff, you still need to put the beginner sticker on your car for the first year.
The shoshinsha maark.
Yeah. You may have seen that emoji before, but yeah, for a year you need to have the beginner sticker.
Yeah.
But because we took the course exam, we didn't need
to. Speaking of those stickers, so there's the beginner sticker. Do you know of another sticker?
The elderly one.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny, I think, because that system just doesn't exist.
Is it over 75?
Maybe,
or 65?
Probably. Oh, I don't know. But we don't have that system in the US, right? Where you have to put a sticker according to your age or level or whatever.
Yeah.
No. Even the what do you call the ranking system of the driver's licenses, how there's a beginner license, the green license, the blue license, and the gold
one.
Yeah. That's also something the US doesn't have, which I kind of like that system, to be honest.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
And also, just to let you guys know, I'm not a gold driver yet because I haven't had my license long enough. Maybe next time when I renew it, it'll be gold.
Are you blue now?
Yeah, now I'm blue.
And it's the blue for 3 years?
3 years.
Okay. And I'm hoping you're not in any accidents or getting tickets or anything like that.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Yeah.
But spoiler alert, nothing was my fault. Okay.
Okay. Then maybe you won't see the gold for a long time.
Does it count if it's not my fault?
I personally have no idea.
We'll see.
Again, most of when I had the blue license, I moved to Osaka partway through it. So I wasn't driving for a long time. Okay. So on my record, I look very clean, which is why I have gold.
Yeah, we'll do another episode far into the future when I renew my license.
We become a gold member.
What color did I get? So for that driving test where you have to drive on the course, I was not shocked, but a little bit of a culture shock that it's not really a test of how well you can drive.
No. It's how well you can take a test.
Do you know that course?
Yeah. Like every exam here in Japan, almost.
True. It's a test of the
Taking a test, yeah. like the JLPT.
So all of these course tests where you have to actually drive, it depends on the prefecture. They're all different. So the one in Osaka doesn't have a railway crossing. Did Chiba?
Yeah, because it's just inaka like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you're supposed to do at a railway crossing?
Aren't you just supposed to stop and look back and forth 3 times or something?
You forgot one thing. Turn down the windows.
Oh, yeah. And to
fail.
listen for the, isn't that an automatic fail?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
but
listen for the train.
Osaka doesn't have that crossing. But there are some things that are pretty, not universal, but that you will see in a lot of these. So one is like that crank turn. So like a sharp left, sharp right, sharp left again. And it's a pretty narrow space. And then also the thing called the S-curve.
Yes, I mentioned this in my notes too.
Yeah.
How did the crank turn and S-curve go for you?
So if you hit the curb, you automatic fail.
Yep.
But you're also allowed to back up a little bit and realign.
Yeah.
As long as you check the mirrors and everything properly.
Yeah. But up to how many times?
1 or 2?
You get 3 tries, I think. If you back up and you try to, realign yourself and it takes you, something more than 3 turns or 3 tries.
3 seems like a lot.
In the moment, you wish you had more. But something like that. 3, then same. Automatic fail.
Okay. Yeah, I did back up once and realign. One of the stressful things about that was first, I was sitting in the back seat while somebody else was taking the exam.
That's another crazy thing I didn't expect.
And this person failed. Oof. Like, they did the crank turn and the S-curve so well, but they didn't make a full stop at the stop sign.
That happened to me too. Something where I passed both the S-curve and crank turn. This is, did I mention how many times I took the practical exam?
Yeah, let's see. How many times did it take you to pass?
4. But anyway, on my first try, I passed.
She's shocked too.
I know.
4 times.
I passed the crank turn and S-curve fine. No problems.
Yeah.
I really studied how to do it and everything. And there was something I did after the fact that just automatically failed me. And then they just told me to go back to the, what do you call it? The starting point or whatever.
Country.
Go back to your country. Yeah, I did it all. I did something. I can't remember what the mistake was. And then the instructor was like, you can tell they were kind of bummed that I went that far. But then they had to tell me like, 戻ってください. Yeah, they just told me go back. And
yeah, they just automatically, once you're done, you're done.
You just have to go back to the start and switch if you were the first person to take the exam.
Yeah. So when it was my turn to take the test, I was so nervous because there's some random guy sitting in the back too,
I hate
judging me. No, but my flex is that I passed on the first try with no prior driving experience here. I was actually supposed to take a lesson. So some driving schools offer the option where you can take a lesson just to get to know the course. And I had scheduled one. It was supposed to be 18,000 yen.
Sheesh.
Maybe like, I think it's worth it though.
Yeah.
If you take it. But 2 days before, I scheduled it for 2 days before I was taking the test. And then on that morning, there was a really bad accident on my train line and I couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't actually take that prep.
Wow. And you still passed the first try?
Yeah.
Did you get a perfect score or did they tell you? Because usually after you take the test, whether you failed or not, more so when you do fail, though, they'll tell you all the mistakes you made and how many points. Because you're allowed up to 60 points or 70 points or something that get docked. And each mistake is about 10 points, though.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But one thing that, it wasn't obviously a failable offense, but mixing up the turn signal and the windshield wiper.
The winkaa.
The winkaa.
The winkaa. Why are the blink? Well, I guess why did we call them blinkers in English?
Signal,
they're called winkers. The winkaa in Japanese, but oh, you mix that up.
Yeah, but I was so anxious, so I tried to put on the turn signal. I put on the windshield wipers at first, and then I couldn't get it down. And the examiner was like, I got it. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's something they just experience all the time, though. And they can't, dock you points for that. Yeah. I would hope, but yeah.
Because if you drive on Japan, you drive on the left side of the road, and the driver's seat is on the right side
of the car,
which is the opposite of the U.S. and a lot of other places. So that also means that the turn signal, at least in Japanese-made cars, the turn signals are opposite.
Yeah.
But if you have a foreign car in Japan, for example, like Mini Cooper or something, it's the opposite of a Japanese car. So,
like Frankie said, it's mostly a test on how to take the test, on how well you know the course versus actually driving.
Yes.
Because there's all kinds of, I say silly, but they're important things you should know. For example, checking the test starts before you get in the car.
Yes, you gotta check under the car.
You have to check under the car.
For cats.
Yeah, which...
or other wild animals.
Well, it's good you said that, because at the time when I was doing that, I just had no idea what it was for. I was like, what am I checking for? Bombs or something?
It's for cats.
Yeah, I see. And
stray cats. Street cats.
What was I going to say? The test starts before you get in the car. And I remember just thinking how silly it was, all of the advice I saw online, because I failed a couple of times. So at that point, I was just researching online, you know, how to pass or any tips and stuff. And there was just advice up to a point where, for example, if you had long hair, long enough to put into a ponytail or something, when you're checking, you know, your mirrors looking left and right, the advice was saying something like, turn your head so dramatically that your ponytail kind of flicks in the air so it looks like you're really checking. Yeah, things like that. That's kind of how ridiculous it felt to me. And also, when you went to go take this test, did you have an international permit? Were you driving in Japan beforehand?
I had never driven in Japan before that.
Okay, so
I think my anxiety helped because I was, you know,
really
checking
prepared.
Everything. Yeah,
I see. So in my case, when I first got to Japan, I basically had to drive the day I arrived almost. And so because of that, I came with the international permit, or it was called an IDP. Yeah. IDP, so International Driver's Permit at the time. And you can just get that if you have a driver's license in your home country. And so when I came and I was legally allowed to drive with that permit, it expires in a year or something. So I was driving around for a whole year in my own car before I really had to go and take that test before that permit expired.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I mean, maybe I just didn't take it seriously, but also there was a couple of things I automatically failed for. I wish I could remember. I must have stopped over the stop line, just by a couple inches or something. My second try, I was so nervous, so I kind of messed up the crank turn. You know, it was little things here and there. But what was so silly to me is that even after, you know, driving for a whole year, going to this test, failing the test, so they basically told me, you cannot drive, right? That's what failing the test means, you know? I drove
already been driving.
After I've already been driving. But the silly part to me was being told, you know, you fail. You're not allowed to drive in Japan. You cannot get a Japanese driver's license.
But
and then I drove myself
permit,
home. Yeah. And then I was like, okay. And then I had to drive myself home. And then drive myself back to go take the test another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think actually having that international permit, that kind of hurts you for the test. Because if you're already comfortable driving, you might make mistakes more easily.
Or you're definitely, because Japanese people also, they're not stopping way before the line like they teach you in the exam and stuff like that. So I get where, you know, that could hurt you in a sense, but it was a lot. And we got a lot of comments and submissions, I think in your experience and in mine as well, where, for example, if there was, let's say 20 foreigners taking the test that day, only one person or so would pass. Yeah. On
the day that I went, I believe it was 18 foreigners who were taking it, and only 2 people passed.
Yeah.
So me and the guy who was in the back seat when I was driving.
Yeah.
We're the lucky ones.
And this is more so advice, not about driving in general, but like I mentioned, you know, at least know basic terms like left and right and turn and stop and your numbers and all of that, because your instructor will tell you, you know, speed up the car or turn left at number 32 or whatever, you know, on the course. And like we said, you sit in the back. So you watch, you know, your other, what do you call it? Like a partner, your buddy or whatever, take the test at some point. Yeah. And I can tell when the couple times I took the test, maybe that person wasn't familiar with Japanese so much at the time, and they were getting a little confused with the numbers, or maybe they weren't sure where to turn because they couldn't understand the instructor. And of course, that shouldn't fail you, but you can tell the instructor was getting irritable. And I'm sure that affects everything, you know, at the end of the day too, is the mood of the instructor, right? So just a little pro tip out there. Unfortunately, you know, they might be nicer about failing you or nicer about passing you versus you know, being grumpy and then just telling you to get out of the car with no feedback, you know. I at least got feedback on my failures.
Also, so I'm not sure about other places, but in the Osaka test, there's no parking. Because in the US, a big part of the test is parallel parking.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot
but you
about
don't have
that.
to do that.
No.
At least not in Osaka. I don't know about other prefectures.
No, that's so true. I don't think I had to... What?
Was there any parking?
I can't remember now.
I mean, you have to pull back up to the place that you started. But there's no formal parking part of the test.
You're right.
In my experience.
I don't think there is in Chiba either, which is so funny because backing your car up into stalls is so common. Yeah, that takes practice, and everyone does it in Japan.
Yeah,
you can tell who's not Japanese, but not familiar with driving in Japan if they pull forward into a stall.
Yeah, or like
that's
a lot
how rare
of
it is.
beginner drivers.
Yeah. I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I got maybe because you just need to do it in the inaka because you drive so much and park in all kinds of weird places. But I got so used to it to a point where it was harder for me to just pull into a stall. If it wasn't one of those like diagonal ones or whatever, it's almost easier to just back into a stall. Yeah,
I agree. Because when I went back to the States in September, I didn't drive when I was there, but in the car with my family members, I'm like, damn, it seems much harder to pull in to the parking spot the way that they do. Yeah. Because I practiced backing into the spots just because I wanted to fit in, immerse myself. And now I love it. Yeah. Now I'm comfortable with it.
Fun fact, I'm sure maybe this has a lot to do with just the amount of Nikkei, like Japanese American people being in Hawaii, or culturally we've just always done this too, but we also back into stalls everywhere. Oh, really? And so you can tell who's a tourist by you know, the way they park almost.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And speaking of parallel parking, I rarely have to parallel park in Japan.
I don't think I've ever done it ever here. Yeah.
Because like street parking, for example, in New York and Philadelphia, like parallel parking on the street is a big thing. But in Japan, there's usually lots.
Yeah, I've always had to park into a parking lot. Or, again, that inaka life where you just pull over to the side of the road and turn on your hazards and just don't even care. Make people pass you. Yeah.
So that was my experience.
Yeah.
Converting my license. You've renewed your license.
I have.
1 or 2 times?
Once here in Osaka, actually. And that was when I went from the blue license to the gold license. So actually, an interesting thing I found, when you do renew your license here in Japan, you have to sit through a lecture. Yeah. Did you know that? Yeah.
It was, I think, maybe 2 or 3 hours,
if I remember. It's something long, yeah. And of course, once you get the gold license, you don't have to do the lecture anymore.
No more lecture? It's a shorter lecture? There's not.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out when my my license expires in a couple of years. Yeah. But that was kind of interesting. I mean, I complain about it, but if you think about it, it is kind of important, I guess, to get a refresher. You know, I feel like a lot of people in the US could use that lecture, and because when do driver's licenses expire in the US? Like 10 years, 20 years?
Maybe 4 years. In New Jersey. 4 years.
Hawaii too. I think it's 5 years, and then maybe depending on, again, your violations or whatever. I have a friend who's from Arizona, I think, and their license was like 15 years or 20, something crazy, like 20 years. I don't know. Wow. You don't even look the same after that, but I could be totally wrong, but it was something kind of long like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and also just, I guess if you're like Frankie and you pass the first try, you don't really have to worry about things like this. But if you're like me and, you know, you fail multiple times, just keep in mind, driving centers are only open on weekdays. So if you're working, you have to take the day off.
So that sucks.
Yeah. So I had to basically use 4 days of my personal time off to go take this driver's test, 1. And 2, it costs about 3,000 yen or something to take the practical exam.
3,000 or 3,500.
Something like that.
Something around there.
And obviously, if you fail, you have to pay for it again. So it can be very expensive if you have to keep taking the test, or if you just go to driving school in general. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Keep that in mind. Yeah. And also, depending on the area, like Frankie said, the Osaka one is pretty smooth. So you got an appointment in a couple weeks after your thing. In Chiba,
if your schedule is flexible, obviously you can get in faster.
In Chiba, I remember going in to do the written exam first, and then the next time I could go back for the practical exam was about a month later.
Ah.
They're so backed up. So with my multiple failures and just the horrible backed up system of the DMV there, it took me almost a full year to get my license completely.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
So again, this stuff takes time and money in Japan. Just keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, so I've never been to driving school, and the people who submitted stories to us, they were not people who went to driving school either. So I just have a few notes about it, but since I don't have direct experience with it, I had actually looked into it because I thought when I wanted to get my license here, like, oh, maybe I'll go to driving school, see the road rules and stuff. And then I looked at the price. I was like, oh,
it is so
250,000 yen.
It's crazy.
I'm just going to convert it.
Yeah, but usually people who go to driving school, not even usually, I think almost 100% you pass on the first try because you went to the driving school.
So.
I mean, I would hope so
price.
too, yeah.
So it depends which season you go and how fast of a course it is, because it could be a 2-week intensive course or it could be a 2 to 3 month more relaxed course classes that you do. So roughly 250,000-ish. It could be less, it could be more, but that's a ballpark estimate. So yeah, the busy seasons, of course, are March. And then July to September because that's school holidays.
So everyone's trying to like go on a road trip or something for summer vacation, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe because they have the time at that point. They have
I see.
some holidays at that time. They could go.
Also, if you do take the driving the driving class, you do get practical experience in terms of actually
Being on the road,
yeah.
Yeah. You see them on the street sometimes, like, nani driving school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always like to look in there too because it's always some person in their 20s, like their early 20s maybe, and they're just so nervous and their face looks so serious. So, yeah.
So if you're curious, the minimum driving age in Japan is 18.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was 20.
No, 18. And then for gentsuki, moped, that is 50cc. You can get a license for that at 16.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense why I see, sometimes high schoolers or maybe in dramas or something, some high school kids can have a moped. Oh.
Yeah. Someone told me before that even if you do get your license at 18 when you're in high school, you're not allowed to drive to school.
Figures.
So people still, take their bicycle or mopeds
Japan
or
is still pretty strict
Yeah.
on that. I feel like
in the US, I had to drive to school.
Right. I didn't have to drive to school. If I think about it, I lived so close I could have walked or at least biked over. But I drove, or I had, someone drive me or something. To be cool, But yeah, you do need a car in the US for sure. Oh, but I was going to say, at some schools in Japan, at least for middle school, for example, you need to live a certain distance away from the school to ride your bike to the school. I think if you lived within, for example, a kilometer or something, you have to walk. Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
But that could have also just been the school I worked at.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. I never taught at a public school, so I'm not sure.
But you saying, even if you have your license, you aren't allowed to drive to school. It kind of it makes sense for me because schools here just have rules like that. Yeah.
Only for teachers.
That's true. Yeah, there's no parking
Probably
lot
just
anyway.
for teachers, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, also, so speaking of those mopeds, if you have your normal driver's license, you can also drive
a moped
or a motorcycle if it's 50cc.
Yeah.
But if it's anything bigger, like 125 or 250, there's other certifications that you need to get.
True.
So I do have a story later about my moped.
Ooh. I didn't know you drove a moped. That's so
Not
cool.
anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get to that, do we have some listener stories?
Yeah, you want to take the first one?
Sure. So this person said, I had spent months being hyped up by my fellow ALTs about how difficult the driving test was. I finally worked up the courage to go to the driving center and take the written exam. I went through a line where I filled out a bunch of paperwork and even had my picture taken. Then watched as everyone was called back to take the exam but me. I wanted to cry at the time. I wasn't confident enough in my Japanese to ask what was going on. 10 minutes later, I was called up and given my shiny new driver's license. It turns out that my state had been added to the prefecture's reciprocal license agreement recently. All that stress for nothing. I had no idea and walked out of the driving center confused but happy. I know this person who submitted this, and I'm like, that's how I feel on the inside too. But I was like,
lucky,
yeah. Because like I said, I did all of that, and then literally a month later, Hawaii got added to this list.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, so I was so mad for such a long time. Yeah, but good for you.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
And also, you probably had to put the the new driver sticker thingy on your car.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, lucky. Okay, someone else said, had to take the test 6 times. On the 6th try, I told myself if I didn't pass, I'd never try again and I would bike to work. Definitely surprised how we had to check under both sides of the car as part of the test, and there's not really a point system like in the US. It's just like the dude driving with you telling you if you passed or failed. My experience in Ishikawa.
Oh.
Also mine in Osaka. I don't think they did points. But yeah, they said also having to memorize the course beforehand is buns.
What does that mean?
Buns?
Is that Gen Z slang?
Nuts?
I don't know.
Is it nuts? I don't know.
Is that Ishikawa slang? It's buns.
It's buns.
Where are you from in the US? That's kind of fun. That's so buns.
I don't know.
Are we using that right? I feel so old now.
Maybe it was a typo and we're just like, what's bun?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. But having to memorize the course, that reminded me of when I was kind of studying and preparing to take the exam. Someone I knew, thankfully, you're allowed to walk the course before you take the exam. Like they just let you go out and look at it.
Okay.
So that person was like a good person and yeah, just took a video walking the whole course. So and uploaded it to YouTube for us.
The Chiba course?
Yeah, for us fellow English teachers who just wanted to look at it. Yeah. And I learned how to do the crank turn and S curve too because someone, I think the Chiba driving school uploaded a video on how to do it. So cool. There's resources out there on YouTube if you need them.
Okay. All right, the next story.
Buns.
Okay. Do you want to take this?
Sure. This person said, I came to Japan in 2021, and just as I was about to pay for the very expensive driver's course here, my state, Indiana, became one of the approved states that could have the license directly transferred to a Japanese license. I took a 10-question quiz and got my license on the second try. The English quiz wasn't properly translated, so the questions were very confusing. I will say that people in Japan drive so poorly, but I'm surprised car accident rates aren't sky high. Depends on the prefecture, I think. Also, car seat safety is not taken seriously. I've seen children under 1 in the front seat, front facing. When I worked at a daycare, I saw way too many moms let their children just hang out in the back seat with no car seat and no seat belt. I've also seen a mom holding her baby in a baby carrier while driving. I shouldn't laugh, but it's so ridiculous. I couldn't help it. Yeah, I do see this a lot, unfortunately, too. It is so crazy.
The kids running around the
back.
car?
Yeah. I thought it was just like a inaka countryside thing at first, but no. You see it a lot in cities too.
Yeah. So actually in 2008, they imposed a new law where even people in the back seat, everybody has to be strapped in, whether you're on the highway or if you're on normal roads.
That seems so late to enforce.
I know,
2008.
but it's still not commonly practiced.
That's crazy.
And we do have a very tragic story about that later, so I'll warn you before we get to it. But when they said they've seen a mom with her baby strapped to her in a carrier while driving, that reminded me of also, when I worked at a preschool, I also saw a mom with a baby strapped to her on a moped.
That's nuts. Sometimes I'll see it on bicycles, and I think that's gotta be illegal. I don't think that's okay, but it's a bicycle. Maybe you just need to go to the supermarket or something. I'll let it slide. But also, on a moped is crazy.
On a moped is really wild.
That is just so unsafe. And, even if you think you're okay and you're gonna follow all of the rules and it'll be okay, it's just a short distance, you never know who's driving around you, and you just never know what could happen. It's just... I don't know. Maybe I'm getting passionate about it because
you got a baby.
I have a baby now. But it's so scary to think about.
That's just one of those things where you think it could never happen until it does.
Until it does. I don't even jaywalk anymore. You shouldn't jaywalk in the first place. I know. But just saying, when I'm out with the baby and stuff, I'm waiting. Yeah, you have to be safe because...
Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
Seriously, that.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more listener story. Okay. So, good experience. Just had to do the driving practical test to change it from my American license to a Japanese one. I passed on the first try thanks to booking a practice half-day session at school where a former driving test instructor taught me how to pass. Very different from how to drive. But out of like 30 foreigners that tested that day, only 8 of us passed. Yeah, so like we said earlier, not many people pass on the first try.
No. Okay.
Okay.
This last submission, they said, I did really well on my first driving test, but when I got back to the starting point, the instructor asked if it was my first time taking the test. When I said yes, he told me I'd have to come back again. So for my second test, I refused to pay the train/bus fare to get there, and I biked over an hour. In my license photo, I have the worst raccoon face/sunglasses burn. Is that allowed? Wait,
because it's your first time, they failed her? That doesn't make sense.
I have no idea.
That's not fair.
What the reason is for that. That sucks, though. I'm glad you got it in the end. One thing I just kind of remembered with all of these stories and everything, because we said 1,000 times the practical exam isn't practical if you think about it. You know, it's really just on how well you know the course. And because they want you, they being the instructors, care about, you know, how well you're following all the rules. Did you ever realize there's no certain speed you have to go?
That's true.
So you can, there's one section, it's kind of a straight shot where they'll tell you, you know, go 40 kilometers per hour or something.
Yeah.
There's only a small part of that. And then for the rest of the test, you can literally drive it like a snail. Just as long as you follow all of the rules.
Yeah.
So I had some people going on at like 10, 20 kilometers an hour or something super slow.
I think I was going pretty slow too.
Yeah, because you're trying to follow all the rules. Yeah. So that's just another silly thing. It's like, no one is driving like that in the real world. Yeah.
And I will say, that did not prepare me for the actual streets, especially not the streets of Osaka.
Yeah. Osaka, again, it's next level. I'm really surprised, like almost envious, I guess, that you can drive in the city in Osaka, because I could never.
It's a good place to learn, I guess, because drivers are pretty aggressive here, so you're like thrown to the wolves.
I guess.
And you learn.
If you could do that, then I'm sure you could just go anywhere after that. Tokyo is your next shot, maybe.
I haven't personally driven in Tokyo, but I've been in a car with a friend driving in Tokyo.
It's scary.
And it's not aggressive, but it's just kind of confusing because there's so many lanes.
There's just
so many
a lot
places
happening.
To turn.
There's a lot happening. And what always gets me is not just in Osaka or Tokyo, streetlights in general, where the top streetlight will be red, but then under that is a green arrow or to go straight or to turn or whatever. So depending on your lane, even though the top one is red, you're still allowed to go.
Yeah.
You know, so it's pretty confusing. If you're not, you know, familiar, please be careful if you get your license recently.
Yeah. I did find one interesting story on Reddit. So it's from 13 years ago, if that puts any context to this. They said, Japanese driver's practical test, Hiroshima, is kicking my ass. Any suggestions appreciated? Just got back from my 6th try at the practical exam and failed again. 6 tests in the span of 1.5 weeks. I try to correct as much as I can, and unfortunately, since my Japanese is not that strong, can't understand everything they're telling me. Getting really frustrated, and it's costing me quite a bit. I guess I'm just looking for any advice or pointers you have to help me at all, whether it's for the driving test in general or Hiroshima specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's an edit. At least they finally got it.
Yeah, they did get it. I guess that was the 7th try?
Yeah, maybe. Lucky 7.
But there was one comment I wanted to read from somebody that mentioned Nagoya.
Okay. So we have a comment here. They said, I got my license on my 5th try in Nagoya. You're lucky you could take it so many times within such a short time period. Mine were all about 6 weeks apart. Same, like the Chiba experience I just said. Damn. Anyway, I think a major point that hasn't been mentioned yet is whether your driving is smooth or not. No sudden stops, no jerky turns. I also failed once for going too slowly on the long straight section, so make sure you know the speed limits for each section of the course. Other things I was told I failed for. Taking too long to change lanes, then the next time doing it too quickly. They're very nitpicky about that. When you check your blind spot, make sure your shoulders don't move. I failed once for it, then I corrected by doing the motion of checking my blind spot, but not actually turning my head far enough that I could see it. As long as it looks good to the instructor, that's all that matters. Get as close to the curb as possible when making left turns. They say 30 centimeters or less. Use your side mirror and try to get your left wheels almost on the white line. Turn your blinker on about 30 meters before the intersection. I believe earlier is okay too. And don't hit the curb! Yeah.
That's good advice.
That's all good advice that I would have followed too 8 years ago. I don't know, this is just bringing up so many memories for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, the ones like turning on your blinker way before the light or whatever. In the time, I was just thinking how ridiculous it was or how it's way too early. Why do we need to do this 30 meters ahead or whatever? And yeah, it's a real thing. So I don't disagree with any of this commenter's advice.
Yep, they're very particular on that. This also reminded me, so when they were saying they were just trying to make it obvious that they were turning their head. When I was looking up advice for the test, I remember seeing one comment that was like, turn your head like you're in The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah. This goes back to my ponytail advice when you're just turning like this,
Yeah, for me, you don't have to talk, but I was just trying to say things out loud, like, oh, left, right, back.
That's another piece
Nobody's
of advice.
coming.
Yeah.
And I think that helped the examiner be like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she's taking it seriously.
Exactly. I saw some advice on the internet. If they tell you, for example, turn left at number 50, you say, turn left at number 50, right? You have to kind of confirm what they're telling you so you understand. It's so silly.
All right. So for the next segment, I wanted to talk about traffic accidents.
Okay.
So if you have seen our episode about the most wanted criminals in Japan, you might remember, what is the number one wanted guy wanted for?
Violating traffic rules.
Yeah. And more specifically, it's kind of a hit and run road rage
that's
incident.
A really bad thing. Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. If you want more details about that, feel free to go back to that episode.
Watch that episode. That was interesting. I found this article. I mostly just wanted to look at the graph. It's called 2024 marks the third lowest year on record for traffic deaths in Japan.
Okay.
So that's good.
That's good.
Fatalities are decreasing.
Progress, yeah.
Just the highest on record, 1970.
What was going on in 1970?
16,765 traffic accident fatalities.
That is insane.
What was happening in 1970? If you were around during that time, tell us. What was going on?
What was going on in 19... I'm trying to think.
Because I'm before the bubble economy?
It's before bubble, but I'm trying to think what was going on in Japan
was that like
at that
Yakuza time or something?
I don't know. I'm not very familiar with Japanese history, but you have to think about, okay, it's post-war, pre-bubble. So was this, automobiles were kind of slowly making their way and everyone was just driving at the time? Was this when, Western influence of driving was really peak at this time, but no one was following rules? Maybe they just didn't even have streetlights in a lot of places. Tokyo and I'm sure a lot of cities were still developing. Maybe they were pretty lawless. I don't know.
Yeah. We should do an episode about what was happening in Japan in the 70s.
In the 70s. Ooh, I want to know. I'm so curious, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the highest on record, but it's been a pretty steady decline.
Yeah.
Like there's been a few ups and downs, but mostly a decline since then. And 2024 had only 2,663 fatalities.
That's good. We love to see that steep decline.
Progress.
You ever notice in front of police stations here, there's a board where it says, we've, for each day. So for today, we've had this many traffic accidents or this many deaths or whatever. Usually the main police stations it's posted outside of the station and it's on an electrical board. So it's obviously refreshed, every time something happens.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but if you're ever curious, maybe in front of Kobans too, but definitely in front of bigger police stations, you can always see the amount of traffic accidents, at least for the month, but maybe for the day too.
Oh. Yep. Interesting. So, yeah. But of course, because the number of fatalities is steadily decreasing, that doesn't mean there are no accidents. Like they do happen sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of accidents.
Yeah. So what's a growing issue that we have?
Well, if you recall our declining population episode or our increasing elderly episode, I should say.
Yes.
There is a correlation to that and driving and accidents here, right?
Yeah. So, of course, because the elderly population is increasing so rapidly, there's more elderly people, which means accidents are more likely to be caused by who there are more of. So, yeah.
Yeah, so a 2023 annual government report showed that people aged 65 or over accounted for 54.7% of traffic accident deaths in Japan.
Yeah.
More than half. So that's a little intense.
So I wanted to talk about a bit of an extreme case that resulted in 2 fatalities. So trigger warning for that, for traffic accident deaths. But I remember seeing this on the news and it really made me sad. So I remembered this story.
Yeah.
So there was an elderly driver who killed 2 people and injured 9 in 2019. But there was an article about him in 2024 because he went to prison and died there.
Oh, I see.
So it's really sad.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you the highlights.
Okay.
So this man was 88 years old at the time of the incident.
Ooh, wow.
So on April 19th, 2019, the car that, his name is Izuka, the car that Izuka was driving sped through a red light and hit Mana Matsunaga, 31, and her daughter, Riko, 3 years old, while they were crossing at an intersection, and 9 other people were injured. Izuka initially blamed mechanical failure, but the Tokyo District Court ruled in 2021 that he had accidentally and repeatedly pressed the accelerator instead of the brake pedal. What I remember from the news article was that he was pleading not guilty, and that just made me so mad.
Yeah. It's really sad, but you just have to own up to it at that point. You know?
Even if it wasn't
no matter how old you are,
it happened.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for him, he was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for negligent driving resulting in death and bodily injury. He was then ordered to pay 146.6 million yen, about $951,000 in damages to the 38-year-old bereaved husband and father.
Yeah.
And in May 2024, so last year, the father met with Izuka in prison and asked if he had any message for elderly people and their families. And Izuka reportedly replied, "Please tell them to return their driver's licenses as soon as possible." And sadly, he passed away in prison at 93 years old in October 2024.
That's really unfortunate. I'm just, on a positive note, I'm glad, he kind of owned up to it in the end knew his mistake. And the father/husband and him could kind of, meet up and get some closure, I guess.
Yeah.
That is really sad, though.
That's so sad.
I just picture, I would hope, for example, my grandma, she hasn't driven in a long time because of reasons like this. I think she was kind of a crazy driver too. At some point, my mom personally was like, "You're not driving anymore. We don't need to do this anymore." So since I was born, I've never seen my grandma drive. Maybe she just never knew how. But, so I can't imagine, because my grandma just turned 90 this year, her at this age, 88, going to prison for the rest of her life.
That is really
5
sad,
years. That's so sad. So yeah,
it's not worth the risk. So if you're wondering, there is no maximum age limit for driving in Japan.
No idea about that. Is there one in the US? Or do people I feel like once you're retired in the US or of retirement age, no one's really driving like that anyway. I don't know.
Maybe it depends on the state. I don't know, actually. Because my grandma, she just voluntarily stopped driving when she got to a certain point. Yeah. When her health started declining, she was like, "Yeah, this is not safe. I'm not driving anymore."
That's true. But also, not to make it dark, but I feel like life expectancy
is
a lot lower in the US. So even if people are driving well towards the end, it's not something as crazy as 88 or 93, So, okay. Well, that kind of answered my own question, I guess.
Yeah. So even though there is no maximum age for driving, they are trying to encourage elderly people to voluntarily give up their licenses by offering like coupons and discounts on public transit, restaurants, that kind of stuff. So some people do.
Yeah.
The elderly couple that I used to teach, the lady, she gave up her license at 75.
Oh, that's good of her. You know, she just, decided, you know what? I don't need this anymore. Or, good for her.
Yeah. And then her husband's a bit younger than her, so he's still driving as far as I know.
I see. I feel like Japan is pretty good about offering, services.
Incentives.
Yeah, incentives, but also just services. For example, day services or things like going to the grocery store. I know, for example, my grandma is a part of a system where, I don't know, a bus picks her up, a shuttle bus, for example, picks her up every week or something. And then they take all the elderly in the neighborhood to Walmart or something, So I hope that would exist here too.
Yeah, but I guess for some people, if you live in the countryside where public transit doesn't come as often, or if you don't have family who have time to drive you places, you would feel like you need to drive for longer. So I found another article called "Some Seniors Will Have to Take a Driving Test Before Renewing Their License." Keyword is some. So if you
why some? So according to the article, to reduce accidents involving elderly drivers, the driving skills test will be conducted on senior citizens who are 75 years old and above and who have committed any of the 11 types of violation in the 3 years plus 160 days prior to their license renewal. These include ignoring a traffic light, speeding, and obstructing pedestrians crossing a street. That's good. That's something. It's a start.
Yeah, it's a start. So you see these stories more and more on the news, like people mistaking the brake and the accelerator Or I think there was also one man who ran a red light and he just said like, oh, it was mabushii. Like it was too bright. I couldn't see the light. And he hit pedestrians. I don't know if you've seen this viral video before. There's an elderly driver in the parking lot of an auto shop. And he's hitting other cars in the parking lot. I think mistaking the brake and the accelerator.
Maybe.
And the employees are frantically trying to stop him.
Yeah. So, oh, this looks familiar, actually. I think I've seen this. This is this year? Or it's pretty recent?
In the past 5 years, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely remember seeing this video. What I'm confused about is why he's still pushing. Even confused or not, why he's still trying to push when there's people literally opening the car door and, you know, near the car, behind the car and everything.
Yeah. But that one employee got behind the car to try to stop it. But like, sir,
what are you going to do?
You're going to get crushed.
What are you, Superman or something?
Luckily, he did not. Yeah. But still. Yeah. And then it ends with the guy crashing into the garage at the auto shop. So, yeah. If you Google accidents involving the elderly, you're going to find dozens upon dozens.
Unfortunately.
So, yeah. Because of the aging population, that's increasing.
And I don't want to hear any jokes about Asians can't drive from this episode. Just putting that out there now. I should have put that out there in the beginning, but
you better not say it.
You better not. Okay.
So yeah, because that is a growing problem of people mistaking the brake and accelerator. Apparently, I found an article that said all cars in Japan to have systems preventing accidents from gas brake pedal mistakes by 2028. Oh, but it only applies to new models. So
what are the older cars supposed to do then?
Yeah, I don't know the details of that yet, but that's 2028.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'll link it.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out. Because, I mean, yeah, that could potentially be really helpful for a lot of people, not just the elderly.
That's true.
Okay. So one of the last things that I wanted to talk about in this episode, this is where I will give a trigger warning for child fatalities.
Oh, okay.
So when I mentioned before about this 2008 law that said rear passengers also have to buckle up, even though it is the law, there are people who don't follow it strictly.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So in August 2024, there was a fatal car accident in Fukuoka. So a mother was driving and she had her 2 little girls in the backseat, ages 5 and 7. And the car collided with a bus. It was a K car. I can show you the picture of the wreckage. Oh my
goodness. Yeah.
So you can see that the front of the car is all busted up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the city bus and the K car, the driver, a mother in her 30s, she sustained a leg injury. 3 out of 10 bus passengers sustained minor injuries.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the sisters, they were taken to a hospital in a state of cardiac arrest and they were pronounced dead shortly on arrival.
Yeah.
The article doesn't explicitly say that they weren't wearing seatbelts.
Yeah.
But if you look at the picture of the car, the sides are not damaged at all. It's only the front.
Yeah, which means they probably flung forward. And,
probably were not buckled up.
Yeah. And this isn't us saying, you know, so buckle up your kids and telling you how to parent or anything like that.
Not saying people are bad parents,
but I mean, yourself too. Always buckle up.
Everybody should be buckled up.
Yeah. Myself too, you know, sometimes, especially, never, you know, with baby, but in the past when I would, for example, take a taxi somewhere, it's so easy to just not buckle up back there. They tell you to, and you're supposed to, by the way, buckle up your seatbelt in the taxi. But there's been cases where sometimes I don't because I'm just, you know, thinking, I'm only going a short distance, whatever, but you never know what can happen in that short amount of time. Yeah. So I myself am trying to be a lot more careful and aware of buckling up. I feel like this also exists in Hollywood or in TV and movies in the US, but I learned in Japan, every time there's a scene of people getting in the car, it's the law or it's some kind of rule. They have to show them buckling up. Yeah. So just buckle up.
That's good. Yes.
Doesn't hurt anyone.
Please. Be safe rather than sorry. Buckle up every person in the car. So
we had this reminded me of seatbelts. We had a phrase in Hawaii for buckling up because it was illegal. So you would get a ticket if you got caught, you know, not buckling up your seatbelt. I assume in New Jersey as well. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like it's pretty commonly enforced in the US. But did you have click it or ticket?
Yes.
Yeah. So that just reminded me of click it or ticket.
Click it or ticket.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. You have some crazy stories or some crazy experiences involving this?
Yeah. I feel like this episode is getting pretty long, so I'm not going to share everything. But I did hint at a moped accident
Okay.
that I had. 3 years ago, I'm riding a moped. We're going through a green light at an intersection. There's only one lane, and then there's also a right turning lane. So the mom in the minivan, she's trying to get around me. She ends up smashing into my mirror, which sent me into a panic. So I swerved and then skidded down the street. She's crying.
Yeah, that's the same reaction I had. Thank you. It took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
but
so-
you're okay. Everyone's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay now. I did have to go to the ER in an ambulance, and I did physical therapy for 3 to 4 months.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because I landed on my hip pretty badly,
Oh, no. Uh-huh.
and my elbow was all scratched up, but it was mostly my hip.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you're okay now.
I'm okay.
And it was nothing worse, I guess.
Yeah, nothing worse. And then also this lady met me at the emergency room later to like apologize. So,
Okay. Well, at least, she owned up to it too.
yeah. But that just makes me wonder. So this was an accident technically a foreigner was involved in. So does this count in the stats? Because it wasn't my fault.
Yeah. I wonder how much of these are like that.
Exactly.
Huh.
So even though foreigners, because of course with the amount of foreigners increasing, there may be more people involved in accidents.
Yeah. They could be involved, just victim.
Exactly. What if they're victims? Because the headlines kind of make it sound like it's their
It's
fault.
always our fault. Yeah.
But in this case,
It was not.
yeah, I'm part of the stats, but it wasn't my fault.
I'm not another statistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
The baby's waking up from her nap, so this is a good time to conclude the episode.
If you're watching, you just see me shifting in all different kinds of positions.
So in conclusion, to summarize our episode, from October 1st, 2025, tourists and short-term residents will no longer be allowed to convert their license. You're going to need to show a certificate of residence. For foreign residents taking the driving exam, it will now be 50 questions as opposed to the old 10-question test, and you need a 90% to pass. And apparently the practical exam on the driving course is also going to get more strict. Accidents caused by elderly drivers is another growing issue. And also, buckle up. You hear that, everybody? Okay. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Pay attention to traffic safety, and we will see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Sorry.